Hello everyone and welcome back to our inventory series, episode 25. In previously we started work on filtering and categorizing our items in our item grid. What we're going to do in this episode is actually start working on those categories and filtering them. So to filter them, we're going to be using bitmasking. So we're going to talk about how bitmasking works and how we can apply that to our filtering system. So let's jump straight in. Okay, so we're going to make a bitmask. Now, a bitmask is a special type of enum which allows you to combine selections together to basically make a filter of some kind. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do here. So my inventory, I need to set up some categories for my item data. So item data so far is just using item class descriptions, but no category. We need to make the categories up. Now, you may remember in the last episode, we made a UI, which was here. And you can see we've got food, materials, equipment, potions, and junk. So we're going to make these categories as an enum. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to right click and go to my blueprints section and go to enumeration. I'm going to type in E for enumeration. And we're going to do item category. And open it up. And then we're going to add one for each one of these. So there's 5 in total. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's add them all in. So food, and we need materials and equipment. And equipment. And potions and junk. Okay, so there are our 5 enumerators. Now, what you need to do on here is click on the advanced option at the bottom and turn on the bitmask flags. And hit save. Okay, now we can close that. So what we need to do is make these buttons on here each have the option to assign a bitmask to each one of them. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go and edit the inventory grid. I'm going to select each of these buttons and edit the button itself. Go to its graph. And now we're going to add a variable to it. And the variable here is going to be the filter flag. And the type you want to use here is an integer. Now, this may seem a bit backwards because you're using enums and things like that, but you want to use an integer because this is how we represent bitmasks. So you're going to go down to the details panel and you're going to turn on bitmask and it will light up the bitmask enum choice. And you're going to choose from the drop down the one we just made. So E item category. We're then going to make that editable and we do expose and spawn as well. Might as well. And save that. So every time we click on this button, I want it to send over the filter flag, okay, and what we're doing with it. So on the button clicked, we're going is on, but we also need to send over that flag. So click on the event dispatcher and add another input to it. This will be an integer, and we'll do filter. Compile that, refresh this, and there's the filter. So just drag that in like so. Okay, and close that, then go back to our inventory grid. So each one of our inventory grid category buttons up here, you can select each one. And on the right hand side, you'll see now filter flag. If you don't see this, it just means you haven't ticked instance editable. So go back and tick that on. So in the filter flag, we can click on the drop down and you can see the enum list. Now this is interesting because we can click on multiple here. So food, materials, equipment, potions, and junk can be all turned on if we wanted to. But in this case, we only want one, which is food in this one, in these cases. So that one will be materials. And this will be equipment. Potions. And then junk. Okay, brilliant. Okay, and then the inventory grid here needs to keep track of what is the bitmask flag that's been basically constructed at this moment in time. So if I go to the graph here, we're going to have a variable here for current filter, which is going to be an integer. And again, you want to go down and turn on the bitmask and bitmask enum to item category. Compile and save that. Okay, so we now need to do these buttons. So we're going to click on each one of these buttons in a for each loop. So let's do that on the construct. We don't have one here, so we just do a construct. There we are. And we're going to do drag out our inventory button. We'll do make array. And we're going to add each pin. Do that. We go around, add each one to it. We're doing this so we can have to bind only one of them. We have to do like loads of different of the same thing. We can do in here and do it for each loop in our construct. And create the binding now for that event. So bind event to button clicked. In the event, you're going to come out of here and custom event. And this would be on filter changed. Okay, so when we come click on the buttons, we're going to get two pieces of information. We're going to check whether or not the button was turned on or off, and also the filter. So if it got turned on, we want to add the filter to our current filter. And if it got turned off, we want to take it away. So the way Bitmasks work is we need to combine them together. And the way we combine our two filters together is basically we're going to take the filter and filter. And if you drag out here and type in Bitmask or Bitwise, you'll see it's not as simple as I add or subtract or anything like that. You've got and, not, or XOR. So to help you explain what each one of these does, I'm going to jump into Excel and show you what each one does. Okay, so here we are looking at how Bitmasks work. Okay, so in Excel, I've put in 2 bits or 2 bytes of a mask, and this is how they're represented. So imagine like this is each one of those things. So this is like potion, junk, food, etc., etc. Okay, and when you turn one on, it becomes 1. When you turn it off, it becomes 0. And so let's say we've got 2. We want to compare. We've got the filter, and we'll say this is the filter here, and we've got the information. Okay. So this is info, like the info that we're going through and comparing. So the filter, if we do and, is going to basically add these, or not add these together. Basically, if these are both true, it becomes true. So 0 and 0 will be 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 will be 1, 0, 0 will be 0. Okay. Now it may look the same, but what this will do, and basically queries it and says, is it the same? Because if I was to put in, say, info here 1, the filter would go through and return the filter. So if you put in the filter and compare it with the info and you returns the filter, that means it is included inside the info there. Okay, you'll see that again in a moment when we go through the query and do it ourselves. On the or, that is going to take these 2 values. Let me just highlight these. Actually, it might make it easier to read what's going on. Okay, so the or is if one of them is true. So that is 0, 1, 1, 1. And what OR does is it combines the 2 together. So when we OR this and OR this, they become that. Not will flip it. So if it's true, it will become false. So not doesn't do a comparison of 2 things. It just looks at one of them. So if we were to put the info into a not, you'd get 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, so it flips it. XOR, or exclusively OR, means that it only returns a 1 if only one of them is set to 1. If they're both set to 1, then it's returning 0. So that'd be 0, that'd be 0, that'd be 0, but this one would be 1. So the purpose of XOR is to basically say, remove this filter from this selection. Okay. So if we want to combine them together, we're looking at OR to do a lot of the work for us. Okay. So let's say, for example, like the info is, let's say we have 0, 0, 0 selected, but I want to add this one to my my filter, or whatever, which way around you want to do it. Or means that that's going to return 0, that's going to return 1, 0, 0. Okay, it returns this. But let's say I already have this one selected, and I want to combine these 2 together. And that would be 0, that'd be 1, that'd be 1, that'd be 0. Hopefully that makes sense. It basically is a way of combining them together. So we want to use or to add them and combine. So we'll say or equals combine. I forgot. Can't do that. Combine. Not means flip. And is a query essentially. Like, does it contain this one? And XOR is remove the contents. Okay. Remove. So that's what these all mean basically. So let's go back into Unreal. And we're getting the filter from the button, and I'll combine these together. So we're going to take the current filter out and do OR Bitwise, and it'll bring that together with the filter. And that's going to be set to the current filter. Like that. Okay. But we only want to do this if it is true. Okay. So if it's true, we'll put that hello, in the branch. If it's true, it'll combine them together like this. If it's not, then I want to remove it. And remember, we'll go back to our cheat sheet. The remove is the XOR. Again, to demonstrate this a bit clearer, let me just clear these out. So let's say my filter is currently set to like this, okay? And I want to remove this one. So XOR means that'd be 0, that'd be 1, that'd be 0, and that'd be 0. Because now that one's the only one that's exclusive. So you can use XOR. So I'm going to drag out from false, back there. And we can do XOR. And we can put in a current filter into there. Okay. Now we can simplify this even further. Rather than making it more complex with more lines going everywhere, we can make it a bit cleaner. Because it works just like an integer. So if the current filter is going in there, I can do select int. And that'll be based upon the is on. So I can get rid of the branch now. And put that in like so. And instead of going to another current filter, we can just plug this into B. Because B is false. And then we put the result into there. So I've got a much cleaner way of approaching that problem. Okay, rather than having a branch and two different current filters being set, we can just do it like this. Okay, and that's the current filter being set up. So the next thing we'll do is make it go pass through the entire inventory grid and basically filter it out using this current filter. So there you go, we've now got our Bitmask set up ready to filter and add and change the filter. But as you can see, we haven't finished yet. We still need to make it so it can filter out the individual slots as we add them. So I'm going to do that in the next episode. So you can watch that next episode right now over on patreon.com/Ryan Laley, where you find all my videos early before everyone else from just $1 a month. Thank you so much to all the patrons and YouTube members for their continued support in the channel. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you next time. Bye everyone.